So I was speaking to my friend the other day, and he's grown his business from $10 million to $40 million in the last 12 months, which is huge. And I asked him, like, what's been the biggest contributor towards your massive growth? And he said their paid social strategy, and more specifically their creative, has been the reason that they've been able to 4x over the last year. Yes, they had a great product. Yes, their unit economics were solid, but the creative was the biggest lever. But the interesting thing about this brand is I wouldn't even class their creative as that good. I mean, yes, they do a solid job, but you don't look at their ad library and go, wow, like they do a great job with their creative. They've just been able to put out so much volume in the last 12, 18, 24 months that they've just been able to get feedback on messaging and angles that work for them so much quicker than competitors. And that's the thing with creative. Sometimes volume negates luck because everyone tries to focus on making the best ads possible. But sometimes you can only achieve that by taking massive action and putting out a load of ads, which is going to lead to the learnings, which is going to lead you to do more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that doesn't. You wouldn't have got those learnings if you didn't put out massive volume and take massive action and make a lot of ads. So what I want to talk to you about today is the commonalities that I've seen in the best creative teams over the last 3-4 years that put out a ton of creative, how they do that, and what you can take from that, whether you are a team of 30 or whether you are a team of 1. Number 1, build a creative operating system. Now, it surprises me how few brands actually have a system that they can track the amount of creative that they produce and launch. I know it sounds simple, but if you are trying to increase your output from X to Y, then you first need to know what X is so that you can determine how you're going to get to Y. When we build these for our clients, we have it aggregated by things like angles and landing pages and copy on the ad. You can add as many variables to it as you want, or you can just have a very simple spreadsheet that says launch date, concept number, concept name, status. Like that can literally be it. But as long as you've got somewhere that you can look at every single thing that's been launched and you can see, okay, on this week we launched 5 ads, and then on this week we launched 6 ads, and then on this week we launched 2 ads. Okay, why do we only launch 2 ads? What went wrong there? The point is that you're measuring your output so you can track it as it scales up. And you can add all those other bells and whistles on if you want to. I personally like to because I just like to see all the data so I can break it down in pivot tables and analyze it like however I want to. But just a very simple tracker will more than do. And I can't emphasize how important it is to make sure that you have this side of your operations dialed, because I mean, it's kind of the whole premise of this video. Like you could spend your time making your ads 10% better, or you could build an operation that allows you to put out 3 times more ads and do more volume and then find more absolute winners. And trust me, all of the brands and agencies that I know that do creative very well all have this in some form, whether that be a spreadsheet system, whether that be a Notion system, Asana, they all have their creative operations dialed, and that's not a coincidence. Number 2, hire the right people or teams. Now I say or teams because sometimes hiring an external team is not the right thing to do. In fact, in many cases, we actually had someone come to us recently trying to have us take over their creative. They were making about 60K a month in revenue, doing about 20K a month in spend on Meta. And they asked me if Adcrate would take over their creative. And even though it would have been a lucrative deal, especially if they'd scaled up, I said no, because honestly, at that point in your business, and really if you're doing less than $1 million a year in revenue, the relative result that you would need to justify the price of an agency or an external team is not worth the cost. And to be honest with you, at that point, you should be focusing on working out how to sell your product, which is the most important thing in the first place. Then once you get above that 1 million ARR, that's typically when we see brands start to think about either scaling up their in-house team or bringing on an external agency. And then 10 million above, very often there is a combination of in-house and agency side. That being said, one of the ways that I have seen this work is when you structure this as a performance deal where the brand pays less upfront while they're still spending a little, and then as they scale up, they'll be spending more, but they'll be spending more because they're making more, which is what we do at Adcrate when we have brands that we really believe in, but it doesn't really make sense to do it on retainer if you're less than $1 million ARR. So what's the alternative to bringing in an external team? Well, that's to hire in-house. Now, after going through hundreds, if not thousands of applications, I've got a good idea of what to look for when it comes to strategists, creators, and video editors for the creative team. What I will say is I'd start off with the creative strategist because that is by far the hardest role to hire for. It has been for like the last 2 years now. But the way that I like to attack hiring for a strategist, and hiring for any role really is to look for people who have the skills that are hardest to train. And that's not always the person who has the most experience. So for example, for strategists, the hardest skill to develop is copywriting. Copywriting is the backbone of good direct response advertising, so it's the number one trait to screen for when you are hiring for a strategist. I want to look for people in their chart arts who can craft compelling hooks or headlines. Does it feel like their copy flows from one line to the next, or does it feel like just a jumble of sentences put together? Can they speak to my audience in my audience's language, not their own? These are the kind of things that I look for when I'm hiring for creative strategists. And for what it's worth, I found, at least anecdotally when looking for creative strategists at Adcrate, that the ones who have come in and done the best were already in the industry. Like, I didn't have to tell them to go and read Motion's newsletter, or go and watch Dara Denny's YouTube videos, or like follow accounts on D2C Twitter. Like, they were already in the industry before we hired them. And like, they weren't great hires because they did those things. They were great hires because the type of person who does those things is just the type of person who lives and breathes creative strategy, and like that just is someone that you want on your team. So that, on my side at least, has been a very positive indicator of someone who's going to do a great job as a creative strategist. Now let's talk about creators, because a lot of brands still get this wrong. I do not care about fancy edits. I do not care about large followings. I genuinely, this is not hyperbole, I genuinely just want someone who's good at yapping. And what I mean by that is someone who can get on the camera and talk authentically about a product's, about an audience's pain points or a product's benefits. And the reason that I say that before looking for someone with actual good content creation skills is that people nowadays can spot a UGC creator from a mile off. Like, every single ad on your feed is a UGC ad. So if you can get someone who can talk authentically, make it feel a little uglier, make it feel like a little bit more like it's someone speaking on the organic feed, then that's going to stand out versus everything else on their feed that's just pure UGC. As for where to source creators, we get a lot of ours on TikTok and Instagram, but I do actually have a video on this coming out very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you do not miss that video. And finally, the most time-consuming hire of all, the performance video editor. Now, what I want to say about video editors is that you have to go through a huge amount of volume to find good video editors at a good price. You can hire in the West, but honestly, I've found equal, if not better quality, hiring in Asia than I have in the West for a fraction of the price that you would pay for an American video editor. We always have, between 5 and 10 postings per country active at all times at different salary brackets, collecting trial tasks. For our last hire, we collected 340 trial tasks for one video editing hire. So if you want to find good video editing talent, like actual good performance video editors who understand marketing, understand storytelling, that's the kind of volume you're gonna have to be doing. So basically, whatever you think is a reasonable amount of volume, like 10x it, because there are not a lot of very good performance video editors out there. And if they are, like a lot of them are not working in direct response. And as it was copywriting for the creative strategist, the most important technical trait to screen for the video editors is clip selection. I want to find out, like, as a video editor, can you understand why this clip goes into the hook? And like, why you think that this clip should go after this clip? And then why does the story play out like that? Like, all the technicalities, transitions, sound effects, captions, overlays, all that stuff can be trained. If you can find someone who's good at clip selection and, more importantly, good at storytelling, that is going to put you in a way better place and is, from my experience, a far better indicator of an A player than anyone who has fancy edits or like good looking transitions and captions. So to summarize, when you are looking to bring people onto your team, either internally via creative strategists and editors and creators, or externally via agency partners, look for people who can tell stories, because if they can tell good stories, then they can make good ads. Number 3, look for high leverage tools. Now, there are tools out there like Creative OS where you can literally put out 50 static ads in about 15 minutes. They've got like 800 templates on the website. You can take it, put it into Figma, change the image, change the copy, and you have a template ready to go. And you can change that headline as many times as you want to, with as many different headlines, many different images as possible. And this is not like a sponsored video. Like, I'm not getting paid by Creative OS to say this. Like, we just do use them all the time. So there's no reason why you can't, as a brand or even as an agency, go and hire someone part-time or full-time, just go and shit out a bunch of statics with different headlines and images. Like, if you want, go and use like customer reviews, or go and use ChatGPT, pull your reviews through GPT and get it to spit out a bunch of different headlines, and just get that designer to go and make statics 24/7 for you to run inside your ad account, because it's such an easy win. And look, are these going to be assets that stay in your account for 12, 18, 24 months? Probably not. But The game of creative is all about finding leverage, and you can do that through your three P's, your platforms, people, and providers. And platforms is by far the cheapest way to go and do this. So if you're a one-man team, you're a two-man team, and you need to find out a way to double your creative output overnight, go and use something like Creative OS, build a bunch of Figma templates or find a bunch of Figma templates on the website and just use that to put out a ton of different statics and test a ton of different messaging. And you can literally go and do that within the next hour. Because if I can put out 100 image ads in the same time that it takes you to put out 10, I'm gonna have an advantage over you because I'm gonna get learnings back quicker. Now, if you want to take this to the next level, then what you do is that you use Midjourney to generate your images. And there's a video somewhere on the screen here about how to go about using Midjourney to create statics. And then you can literally generate unlimited, you don't even need product photos. You can just go unlimited Midjourney images, unlimited headlines from ChatGPT, merge them together and make as many ad creators as you can, which is super cool. So Midjourney, ChatGPT, Creative OS, 11 Labs, all tools that are designed, well, not designed, but all tools that are there for you to go and generate a ton of volume and leverage them to make more creative than your competitors. Number 4, build a content library. So I made a YouTube video earlier this year talking about how we organize all of our content for every client inside of Air. And I had a owner of a 20 million brand reach out the day after saying, I can't believe that we didn't know this. We went and did it, all of it in the last 24 hours, organized 3,000 assets like you guys have organized in Air. And the editing team can't believe how much more insanely productive it's made them. And basically, the premise is instead of putting all of your assets inside of a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder, put them into a platform like Air, or I think playbook.so is another one, where you can aggregate the asset by different variables, like by creator or by type, like whether it's studio, whether it's UGC, whether it's static, whether it's high production, is it B-roll, is it A-roll, what creator shot it. And when you have something like that for the editors to work from, when they're putting together videos and they need a specific clip, they can just go, I want to search for this creator for B-roll that was shot about this specific value prop. And it's super easy for them. They've got a choice of 10 clips rather than a choice of 2,000 clips. I cannot understate how valuable our editors have found this. So for whatever, $50 a month and the cost of a VA inputting the right variables each time a new clip comes in. I mean, when our creators upload to the Google Drive folder, our VA puts it straight into Air and then she removes it from the Google Drive folder. And we've never had an issue. We've got everything tagged, every single way that you could think of inside of Air, and it's made it so much easier for our editors to go and build up mashups. Because then once you have a talented editor, just like we said with Creative OS, you just hire a designer, you can just hire a full-time editor to go into Air and just build out mashups. Like you can label it by hook, body, and CTA if you want. You can say, go and pick a hook from the hooks, go and mash together a body from all the bodies, and then go and pick a CTA from the CTAs. And literally have them full-time go and make ads from this folder, rather than just saying here's a massive folder of 2,000 assets in a Google Drive folder, which makes it infinitely more difficult. Here's a mistake that a lot of brands make. They assume that just because they've tried a piece of footage once, that everything in that ad becomes redundant and you can never ever use it again. That is not true. Like I said, we have made winning ads from stuff that completely didn't perform. Just take it, change the angle, change the story, change the clips, and it's turned into ad that's worked. And we've had ads we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars that have come from losing ad footage. So I would encourage you, look through all of the look for all the footage in your folders and see how you could put together new ads with new angles and new storylines from the existing stuff. And going forward, don't completely write off every clip in an ad just because that one ad did not perform, because oftentimes that is not the case. And finally, number 5, and a lot of you guys are not gonna like this one, incentivize your team or agency. I think it was Charlie Munger that said, show me your incentives and I'll show you your outcome. And if I had a brand, the first thing that I do was subscribe to this channel so I could learn about creative strategy and make better ads. But the second thing I'd do is I'd implement these 4 points. And then on top of that, with my team, my agency, I would set incentives for them to go and hit certain levels or certain KPIs that I predetermined. So whether it's, when an editor creates an ad that achieves 100K in spend or 50K in spend, or 50K in spend at a CPA of X or a ROAS of Y. If you can do all of this stuff, you can set up the, hire the people who think about storytelling, give them all the data, give them access to all the footage that they can break up, and then teach them how to think like a marketer, and then tell them when they do stuff that works, they are going to get an extra $100, an extra $200, an extra $300. Like that to an editor that you've hired from Asia could be a massive thing. And they're going to be hugely incentivized to go and make more great ads like the one they made. So what's stopping you, like hiring one of these full-time editors, getting them to go into Air, or getting a designer to go into Midjourney and ChatGPT, make ads for you full-time, and if they go and make an ad that does really, really well, they get an extra X amount of dollars. And if that is a deal for your team, like why not do the same with your agency? What we do at Adcrate in many cases is we sign a deal where we have a percentage of ad spend, that Adcrate ad spend that we receive inside the ad account. The premise being, if we do not make good ads and they don't command spend inside the ad account, then we will not get paid as much. If we make great ads that command spend inside the ad account and they spend efficiently, then we will get paid more. But the point is, everyone on the creative team, like if you can somehow align their incentives so they are incentivized to make great ads and then keep on making great ads for you, then, I mean, at least anecdotally from what I've seen from internal and external teams, they will perform better over a longer time frame. So those are the 5 things that I've learned from some of the best creative teams in the world over the last 4 years. Ultimately, it all boils down to having the infrastructure in place and then having the people in place to operate that infrastructure. And if you want to see the exact infrastructure that we have at my company, Adcrate, that puts out over 1,500 pieces of content every single month, then click this video here and I'll see you over there.